What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Ogden and welcome back to another video, and today we are taking a look at the Holar Longboard's 42-inch cruiser longboard. Another fine entry into the budget board longboard market with a new company called Holar Longboards. But the question becomes, will they be able to carve a new path in the market with their unique longboard with some questionable design choices? And will this be your next budget longboard? Keep watching to find out. Alright, so I've pulled up a couple quick little specs here on the board, and we're just going to run through them really quick because most of you probably don't care that much. So let's get them over with real quick. This is a 42-inch long longboard. It is made out of 8-ply maple construction, which may seem like a lot, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The wheels are 70 millimeters and their durometer is 82A, so that's very squishy and they're going to be nice for cruising. The trucks are 180 millimeters. They are made out of some sort of metal, but clearly not the highest quality. And a couple interesting choices. It comes with this carrying bag. I'm not sure if you would ever want to use this, but it also comes with this set of stickers, and these are actually really cool stickers, so probably one of the best parts about getting this board for me were these stickers. Let's see what else. It also comes with a skate tool. Where did I put that? There it is here. It comes with a skate tool. It also claims that it is waterproof, which maybe the deck is, because it does have some sort of finish over it, and the sides seem to have something on them, but I would not count on the trucks or the wheels being waterproof by any means. Okay, initial specs out of the way. Let's dive into the board, and we're going to start with the build quality. I would say that the build quality of this board is above average, but it is not great. The board is made out of an 8-ply maple construction, which on initial thoughts made me wonder, wow, is this thing just going to be like a freaking brick with no flex? But surprisingly enough, it actually has more flex than most boards in this price range that I've ever tested. So that makes it really good for being able to absorb vibrations from the ground. And it's going to be really nice for cruising around generally. After testing this with a number of my tricks, because you know I have to do tricks on all my boards, I noticed that the tail here is actually chipping a little bit. There's some pretty big chips in it, and it just makes me wonder, you know, how long is this thing actually going to last? That's going to be subjective to you and whether or not you do tricks on it or bash it up a lot, but I would recommend getting some cheap tail guards eventually if you plan on using this and being a little rough with it. Not a deal breaker, but something to keep in mind. Other than that though, I actually really like how the board is constructed as far as the quality of the wood and the materials and the flex that it gives. Let's move on to talk about some of the components here. So the wheels I actually really enjoy. They're honestly probably one of the best pairs of wheels out of any budget board that I've used. They're very soft. They can slide a little bit. I did a couple practice slides on it. Speaking of that, slide video coming soon. Watch out for that. Trucks, while they don't feel the highest quality, I am pretty confident in them. They seem to be holding up pretty well. They're definitely generic trucks, but they get the job done. Bushings are a bit of a letdown though. They're extremely soft, and I wish that they weren't so soft. I wish they would be a little more high quality, because no matter how hard I turn the kingpin to tighten the trucks, they refuse to tighten, and that's just because the bushings are so soft that it doesn't matter how much you tighten them, they're still going to be able to turn a lot. So this board is very turny is basically what I'm saying, and if you don't like that, you're going to have to get new bushings or look for a different board. Now let's quick talk about the bearings. I am very critical on my bearings because I think they are the most essential part of any longboard. See my last video if you're curious about that. But these bearings are no exception. They're mediocre at best. I would highly recommend that if you pick this board up to either get some Bones Reds or some Landyachtz Spaceballs or some sort of higher quality name brand bearing, because bearings really make all the world difference. And let's be fair to the board. So to be fair to the board, to make sure that it's just the bearings that are making this board suck and not the actual board, we're going to take my really good wheels that used to be on my loaded Tien with really good bearings in them. They may look old because they are, but they still work great. and we're going to put them on this board, see if it makes a difference. Alright, all the wheels are swapped, and let's go test this out. Oh yeah. It's 100% the bearings. Putting these wheels in it makes the board astronomically better. Although the concave is still kind of weird, and I'm not sure how I feel about the shape, definitely putting Bones bearings in it is the play. It's almost a completely different board. It's kind of insane. Alright guys, back to the review. Alright, another point I want to touch on really quick is the stability of the board. This is honestly probably one of the most stable boards I have ever ridden, which is pretty awesome. I rode this board all around town the past week, testing it out on all different surfaces, and there's this one spot, I don't know why, but there's this one piece of sidewalk where there's a panel of sidewalk here, and then the next one is like a gap like a ½ inch tall, and I almost missed it. I saw it and I freaked out. I thought it was going to kick me off, and it just went straight over it like a champ. And that has to do with it being super, super low to the ground. This is a drop-through board, but it seems to be a little bit more than other ones, or at least it feels like it. Actually, hold that thought. I have some boards in the background for that aesthetic, and we can actually test, see how low it is. And yes, just as I suspected, it is actually a little bit lower than the board I normally ride, so that answers that question. Basically, if you buy this board, you're not going to have any issues falling off the board for the most part. Another thing I want to touch on are the tails of the board. Very interesting choice. They are actually... Very interesting choice though on the tails. They are sticking out 2 inches past the end of the truck, which is very interesting because since they are flat tails, usually you'll see flat tails be only 1 inch sticking out, and usually it'll be the curved tails that are curved upwards that are 2 inches. Obviously, I would have rather them just curve the tail up because it makes it easier for tricks, but even though it's flat, I've still managed to do a decent amount of tricks, and let's talk about those tricks. They're pretty easy on the board considering how long it is. I managed to do some demon claws, some tiger claws. I tried some no complies, didn't work the greatest. I did some slides. The slides were actually really fun. The wheels slide very nicely. So you can do tricks on this. It wouldn't be my first choice for doing tricks on, but if you want to learn a couple basic tricks, you can get by with this. And now I want to talk about the weird on this board. And there's a bit of it. Number one, the board is extremely wide. It is a whopping 10 inches. So you get a whole extra 10 inches of width from this board. And that is interesting to say the least. And now finally, I'm going to get into the oddest design choice of them all. And that is actually the concave. Yeah, as you guys know, concave I take very seriously on my boards because it determines how it feels when you ride it. And something is weird about this concave. It is W-shaped concave. So what that means is that the edges of the board flare up like you would expect for a nice concave, but then it dips down and comes back in the middle to form this little bump. If you know nothing about concave, you may be confused as to why this is even a thing. And the answer is actually for downhill longboarding. Downhill longboarders sometimes like using W concave because when they do their slides to slow down when they're going too fast, the bump in the middle can actually keep their feet on the board so they don't slip off and, you know, run off the edge of a hill or something. The problem is, this board is not a downhill board. None of their advertising shows it going downhill, and in my opinion, it is way too long to be a downhill board. So I don't really understand the choice to do that, and I don't really like it, to be honest, because I have really flat feet, so the bump is actually pretty uncomfortable for me. And when you push on the board, usually your foot, it's going to be pointed more towards the nose while you're pushing, and then while you're riding it'll be perpendicular, but while you're pushing it's going to be parallel to the nose, and having your foot on that bump makes it kind of feel a little rocky when you're trying to push. Like, you don't feel the most stable. So interesting design choice, but I will say for me, I would not have done that. I would have gone for, you know, just a U-shaped concave or whatever that's called, maybe a boat shape. Interesting design choices that you'll have to make the decision on for yourself whether or not you like them or don't like them. And that brings us to the question, is this board the future of cheap quality boards And if it is, if it's not, is this going to be something you're going to want to buy? Is this going to be something worth your $90? And who is this board for? Well, I'm going to go with a maybe for most of that. And I know you guys don't want to hear that, but I don't have a lot of boards that are this long in this price range that I've tested before. But here's some things that I'm going to end with. If you're looking to buy a board for cruising around town with, this is probably going to be not too bad for you, if you're okay with the W concave. The super wide width, it's not a deal breaker. Honestly, it's probably fine. I mean, I don't have too much of a problem with it. The flat tails, they work, and they're extra wide, so you can do tricks with them if you need to pop it up on a curb or something. It'll work for you. The only thing I will say though is that if you're buying this to cruise, you have to buy better bearings for it because it's going to make your experience astronomically better. After me testing it out with the yellow wheels, it was just like mind-blowingly different. It felt like a completely different board. I'm not even joking. So you have to buy new bearings with these. So that'll bring the price up and added $20. It's probably going to be a pretty worth it purchase to buy. It flexes, which not a lot of boards in its price range do. It can get you from point A to B, especially with the new bearings in it. The wheels are nice and soft, it's very stable. It's kind of everything you'd want other than the W concave. Hopefully this has helped you think about the board, think about your options, what you view as important and what you don't care much about in the board. If you pick this board up, definitely let me know in the comments about your thoughts on it. As a first board for a new company, you know, I think Holar did a pretty good job, but I definitely think that in the future, in future iterations of their boards, they definitely need to make some that don't have this W concave, and they need to think about some design choices that are made for a specific demographic of boarders. If you're a downhill boarder, figure out what they want in a board, and if you're making a board for cruising, figure out the best things for that demographic. With all that being said, subscribe if you want, like if you want, comment if you want. And that's been me, Ogden. See you guys in the next video. Peace.